Well, Target's customer clearly does not want to pay the continuously increased prices. And they say, listen, you're going to price us out. And what the clientele is telling Target is, we like you for the other items, but we don't need you for groceries. You want us to come in and buy every day. You're going to have to keep your prices lower because you know what? In some cases, eggs are eggs and milk is milk. And if I'm not going to pay a premium just to walk through your door because the milk with the same label on it is a little bit more money.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. A good friend of the show, Carl Gould, is back. And Carl, good news for consumers. Man, Target is cutting prices. How much further behind can Walmart be and the rest of them, right?
Those with grocery sections of their store, like Target, Walmart, Aldi is another one who has done it. Target was most notably cut the prices of 5,000 items, mostly everyday items. Now, if you want to buy ice cream, it's going to be more expensive. But if you're buying toilet paper and toothpaste and shampoo and other consumables, yeah, those prices are going to be lowered at least for the time being.
All right. So we should be grateful then. But what does that say about the economy and their business, Target's business?
Well, Target's customer clearly does not want to pay the continuously increased prices. And they say, listen, you're going to price us out. And what the clientele is telling Target is, we like you for the other items, but we don't need you for groceries. You want us to come in and buy every day. You're going to have to keep your prices lower because you know what? In some cases, eggs are eggs and milk is milk. And if I'm not going to pay a premium just to walk through your door because the milk with the same label on it is a little bit more money. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. And then Target was always a little upmarket from Walmart, right?
Correct. And they cater to a slightly different clientele, which has always appreciated the difference and from a discretionary standpoint would spend the extra. But right now, customers vote with their dollars. And if they're saying, listen, we're simply not willing to spend the money on a commodity item, an everyday item, just for the convenience. So you're gonna have to come back to us. We are going to stop chasing your higher prices.
Right. Yeah, which, hey, it's kind of what people are talking to the pollsters, for the election, right? It's the kind of the same thing, isn't it?
And no question about it. These are concerns. For a period of time, the economy was much stronger. The inflation was low. The cost of everyday items, the cost to borrow money was all cheaper. Now we've gone through some record highs. It's pulled back from there, of course, but it's still a lot more expensive to live your life. Most Americans lost at least 7 to 10% of their usable income to inflation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so true. Hey, maybe more than that, maybe 20% in the last few years. Hey, if you live on fast food or you're a fast food aficionado, that's the right term, or maybe consumer is probably it. The fast food prices got up 72%. The value meal for McDonald's is now $5, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, the Happy Meal is not quite as happy right now.
It's an unhappy meal.
Pricing. And we understand that. We understand that prices will go up. No one likes it, but they understand it. But the rate at which it's gone up is alarming, and it starts to point towards lack of leadership. And that's what people are looking at: leadership of the country, leadership of these particular stores. And if you've got Target, it's very easy. If you're winning or not, because people are either coming through the door or they are not. And people are doing the repeat purchases or not. You can tell right away. That's the nice thing about retail is your consumers tell you exactly who you are on a day in, day out basis. Now, if this continues, we are in an election cycle. And if this continues to stay high, it's not going to bode well for the incumbent.
Hey, so let's not get political about it, but certainly the mood of the country is extremely sour. When you see Trump go into, South Bronx in New York and really hit the ball out of the park, that tells me there's something going on here in the country, attitude, and things are changing here. I don't know if they're for the better or for worse. Like I say, I'm just making an observation, not based upon the politics, just upon the optics and the appearance of what's happening here. And, hey, Florida, it's booming here. So everybody thinks the world's fine because most people don't look at the bigger picture. They look down the street. But Florida as well, inflation is definitely a factor here, more so than in other states because housing prices have not headed down, and housing has become more and more unaffordable, right?
Yeah, and you when you take all of that into account, let's just take a step back for a second. And what have people been through the last 3 years? They've been through a pandemic where they were locked in their homes for approximately a year, not everywhere in the country, but certainly a good portion of it. And then after that, there was a recession. And then after that, there was inflationary measures. So people have been through a lot in the last 3 years. I mean, this has been no joyride for anybody. Even in the most conservative of states where there was the most freedom, even they have gone through a tough time. So the average person is looking for relief, and they're saying, hey, listen, we're doing our part. We didn't start the pandemic. We didn't start the recession. We didn't cause the inflation. But we have been the ones asking to adapt to all of it. And we've had no control over which direction all this went in. Well, guess what? Come November, they're going to start exercising control.
Hey, and like I said, I don't want to get into the politics. It's more the mood of the country, what that means. And do you think that until the election happens, we're kind of going to be in this like dismal kind of holding pattern?
Well, I think you're going to see the Federal Reserve and the current administration doing anything they can to provide relief. And you're going to see that there are just certain economic forces that are heading in such a direction that it's going to be hard to, fight. I mean, we are short 6 million homes right now. So if we all stopped buying homes and we told all the builders, go at it, go get them, they'd have to build 6 million homes just to catch up to the demand. That's going to keep prices high, right? We are short 250,000 truck drivers. Well, almost everything we have in our life touches a truck at some point. And 250,000, we're 250,000 short right now. So that just means moving things from point A to point B. Buying a house, or cars, the fuel that you put in them, that's all going to be more expensive. And those are the things that we feel every day. And there's just forces you can't control. The supply chain is not all the way back. It's still a bit fragile. Mm-hmm. We have the incident in Maryland at the bridge, the Suez Canal, Panama Canal. There's a drought at the Panama Canal where they're down 40% of their capacity on a daily basis. It just makes things harder to move around as quickly as we're used to. And so right now there's inefficiencies that are just beyond everyone's control.
Hey, and the whole thing going on in the Red Sea with the Houthi rebels, which has caused companies to have to ship around the Horn of Africa, and that adds like 10 days to stuff. And all this taken as a whole, like you said, Panama, the ships are backed up. They're having a drought. The lake level's low. And, so isn't this going to have the effect of the further diminishing globalization? Don't you think that's the end result?
Well, if you are the owner of a small to mid-sized business and you have the flexibility to, get a new sourcing for your materials or buy from a different vendor, you have the ability to be a bit more agile than some of the larger ones. So I would see small to mid-market business community making some of these moves so they don't always buy from Asia. They buy from the Middle East, or they buy from Africa or Europe or domestically, in our hemisphere. So you're going to see some moves like that just so people can de-risk their supply chain and their businesses. So you'll see some of that for sure.
Yeah, I find the whole thing fascinating because this is really uncharted territory. We never had this globalist economy before. And, it all gets up going. And look, the consumers benefited from this. There's no question about it. You're a consumer. We could debate the quality of goods that come from other places like China. But this was a golden era for consumers. And in some ways it still is. But once you pull back from the globalization, that diminishes consumer choice. And then, like maybe you have 1,000 vendors on Amazon of a particular good, shoes, whatever.
Yeah.
And then maybe you're only going to have 50. So it cuts your choice. And with that, prices are going to go up, right?
Yeah. There's no question about it. No question about it. So the it is a challenge. It's a bit of a shakeout of the market, if you will, and a good one. These are the sorts of things. If everything's perfect, we tend to leave them alone, but they're not. So things are going to evolve, and we're going to see a slightly new way of doing business over the next few years that is going to hopefully overcome some of the challenges that are in the current system.
So I wanted to talk to you about AI, all right, because that fits in here with this. Yeah. And it looks like in another few years, you won't be driving your car. The car will drive you. It'll be a robot on wheels. Everything is heading to this. I don't know if you saw the commercial or the video of that robot giving the guy an apple. The guy says, "I'm hungry." And the robot picks up an apple and hands it to him. And he says, "Clean this place up." And the robot puts the dishes in a rack. And then he goes to the robot, how do you think you did? And the robot answers him back conversationally, "I think I did pretty good. You said you were hungry. There was no other food here but the apple, so I gave it to you. You said to clean up, so I stacked up the dishes." I mean, man, if I could have gotten one of my wives to do this, I'd still be married.
There you go. Well, AI is definitely a game changer. And the tasks that don't require our highest and best use or our highest skill are going to be done, or are going to be automated or eliminated or be done robotically. There's no question about it.
Okay. So like driving, the thing of being a driver is the largest, quote unquote, profession, career in the country, whether it's limo, Uber, tractor trailer, dropping stuff off. So what are those, and supposedly there's 10 million people doing those jobs. What are those people going to do, Carl?
Well, over time, we're going to, there will be types of driving jobs that will be eliminated. Well, look, if you put 250,000 trucks on the road right now that were autonomous, that only covers the shortage of drivers. So we're a long way away from every driver being out of a job. And, no matter how much you automate, the last mile is still a challenge. So there will be jobs for truck drivers, for the short routes. It's going to be, driving across the country and on major shipping lanes that they can automate that, but not necessarily, someone trying to get around New York City. That take a little bit more time for that.
That's a 3.0.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I use it myself. I got a Tesla and I don't have the latest version yet. That's coming any day, but man, Carl, like this thing is really good. Although yesterday it made a left turn into oncoming traffic into a entrance of a parking lot that scared the hell out of me. It really did, because it just came out of nowhere. It just did it instantly. And I was like, that shouldn't happen.
Right. And there's going to be mistakes like that happen. They're going to they'll overcome that, but there are definitely mistakes that happen.
Yeah. But all in all, a net plus. It lowers the costs, right? Because, the more robots you have in the factory and the more autonomous production you have, the lower the price of goods. So maybe that'll make up for the globalization, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Well, a factory can run 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah. 24/7. And this robot might have taken coffee breaks. I don't know. Maybe he's programmed to take coffee breaks and probably complain. It's like, as a boss, you got to miss the complaining and the constant, harassment to and from your employees, right?
Right on. Yeah.
So, all right. So when we have this conversation next year, where do you think this whole AI thing's going to be? Where do you think it'll progress to?
Well, ChatGPT 5.0 is supposed to come out and it's supposed to be as revolutionary as the other versions, and it's supposed to dwarf what we see in 4.0. So I think you're going to start to see things that are already information related being automated. I think that's going to be the next step. Then you're going to see like mass transportation. That will be automated. It's going to take a while to get down to the individual consumer, but I think we're definitely heading in that direction. And I think a year from now, we're going to see a lot more autonomous cars on the road.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. And, I look at it like there's certain problems that we have, like the traffic light problem, right? And that AI, right now, it's not AI running the traffic lights. It's basically an algorithm, right? And it's based on stuff in the road.
Yep.
But once the AI goes into something like that, and really optimizes it, everyday problems like that seems like they're going to have
can be eliminated.
Handle better, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Sure. Hey, Carl, we find you at carlgould.com. How else do
carlgould.com? Best way to get me.
All right. Well, appreciate you coming on. Always enjoy our talks, and we'll talk to you in a month or two and see where this, when ChatGPT 5.0 comes out, we will use it for a little bit and we'll talk about it. Okay.
For sure. Looking forward to it.
All right. Hey, you got a question for Carl? Myself, KL@KerryLutz.com. A link to Carl's site is in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. While you're there, please sign up for your free newsletter. Got one going out shortly. Always a pleasure. Take care, Carl.
Thanks, Kerry.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.